Good evening. Yeah, I like this the best. Good evening. Um, I took a small little break. I've been doing stuff, but for the most part, I took a little break. I made some little clay sculptures. I still have yet to paint some of them. This is one that I haven't painted yet. Can you? Yeah. So that's one of the ones that I haven't painted yet. I'll show you one of the things that I have painted. This is like the first thing I made. It's now in my altar. Uh, that's actually my first time playing with air dry clay, but clay since being a child. And then I have plans for this. This was going to be an ashtray. Um, because I don't have one. But it's going to double as like a piece. There's going to be a painting here, and because this kind of is like a hook, I was planning on using this as a hook. Yeah. But anyway, um, I have been. I'll show it to you guys once it's fully finished because as of right now, I'm putting it out on TikTok in parts, and I still need to like I'm coming up with it, and then drawing it, and then editing and doing the voiceover. Um, but it's like poetry kind of, animation kind of, but it's like a little autobiographical thing I'm doing. Um, so, but yeah, that's one of the things that I am currently up to. But everything was telling me that I basically needed to take a break, so I didn't record, and I haven't recorded in a while. But that doesn't mean I haven't had ideas. My hair has gotten longer, so now I'm like, I have to find a way to like style it. But yeah, this was supposed to be a makeup for missing yesterday. Tonight is Monday night. So this is supposed to be an OSS episode. But I've been thinking, trying to gather my ideas together since uh the video where I was kind of all over the place talking about like Kendrick's music and stuff like that. And I knew that there was something I wanted to say, but I didn't know exactly what it was. Sorry. But I didn't know exactly what it was. Like, I had thoughts and I kept on like trying to come back to it, but my mind was too scrambled about it. But I mentioned witches, I mentioned Bulerias specifically. Um, and that was with the song Whacked Out Murals, which I'm pretty sure he had that woman there when he performed GNX live at the Super Bowl. But it had finally brought me to what I was an understanding of what I was trying to say. I literally had to write it down on a sticky note just so I could like get my ideas actually together. Um and it's not just necessarily witches in general, but it's like magic, like the different specificities of magic based on race, kind of. Um, and Like, again, I had started this with Kendrick, and it really like clicked to me why it made sense. Um, that this is the thing that still connects Black Americans, Black people everywhere across the diaspora together, with the homeland of Africa, and that is that their magic, their witchcraft, like mostly, is through their words, prayer, and cadence. And this is, if you think about it, like if you sit and think about it, like take in the words, um, there are a lot of times where, everybody loves to adopt AAVE, African American Vernacular English, right? And easy, mm, how easy it is for each other to understand, um, or each other, to understand exactly what a word means based on the intonation, right? Sure, yes, that is across any race. That's like possible across any race. But there's a reason why it is specifically how Black people talk to one another that seems to be adopted as regular slang, right? And I also want to bring up the topic of like when someone thinks about like classic rap and like what someone deems as really good rap that you could just like you sit, you listen, and that is like you get absorbed by it. And it's like described as that is that person's flow, right? Every single time when someone is, judging a person, a new rapper in the scene, they're talking about their flow, their cadence, like they have a very specific way of rapping. And um I'm pretty sure in that video I said rap is rhythm and poetry, but in Kendrick's case, it's rhythm and prayer. I think when it comes to anybody who is speaking truth when they rap, it is like being thoroughly honest and having all those layers in their words. That is rhythm and prayer, because every single time you could hear it in their voice, like the grit in their voice. You could hear the emotions and like even the certain words, the things that they decide to stress in their cadence and stuff like that. That is all spell work, honestly. It's something that is engaging. That's the thing to get people to like stop and like listen and reflect. It is magic. And I wanted to do this entire talk of how there are different magics through music. Music is inherently magic, right? And so I was thinking back again about the Bulerias and why Whacked Out Murals was so potent to me, because it was a mixture of um like Latin and Black people magic. Because what I found, or what I feel, is across not only Latin but also Spanish people. Like that includes Spain Spanish, because they do also have a culture and they did bring some of their culture when they colonized. Um, but that theirs is the musicality and body control specifically. Like there is a reason you can hear the beeps in the beginning of El Bipe, and everybody's on the floor. Everybody's already on the floor. Like anything. They don't even like the translations of the songs. And I saw this like this was like a joke. on TikTok years ago, honestly. But it was someone being like, if you actually like translated what they're saying, most of the time it sounds funny, it sounds odd in English, right? If you were to translate what they're saying in English, because it's not necessarily about the lyrics. It's about the music and getting your body to move. And there's something really fun about how Latinos, Latinx, and how like Hispanic or Spanish people dance. There's like this inherent energy to it, and that's like really where the magic is, getting you to move your body no matter what. There's like different. There's so many dances that they have, and I'm not saying that other cultures don't have dancing, but there's just something. There's just something very magical, to say the least, about it. And then moving to AAPI, Asian American Pacific Islanders, but also just like Asian people as well. Um, the Asian diaspora. I'm also including natives in general in this, like Native Americans and Aboriginals in this. Um, but but for AAPI, um, their musical magic is in nature. Yeah, let me expand on that. It's in nature. It's just the very crisp sound of, like, the first thing that comes to mind is like Zen, but also I'm talking about like things like Haka and stuff like that, where it is very in touch with nature. Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's just something that has to do with like environment, nature, incorporating that into their music and like full body stuff. Not necessarily like in the same way as like Latinx and Spanish people, but in the way of integrating your body with the land. Um, just very natural, and that's why I'm thinking like throat singing and like opera and stuff. Like honestly, now that I think about it, the a lot of the Asian people that I knew had relatives who were like operatic, like opera singers and stuff like that. Um, but like air, there we go. Just things where it's just breathing. That is where their magic lies, like literal breath control. Like, okay, now that I think about it, like let me provide an example of like how I'm like putting all these together and stuff like that. Um, I don't even like K-pop, but this is probably the easiest way I could like explain it right now. But if you watch them dance and you try to do it, their dances are exhausting. Exhausting. And they're doing it over and over and over again. You have to know breath control. You have like that is And then this one, lastly is white people. And there are so many different white cultures where it's like, hmm, I there are so many different like white cultures where I do kind of have to separate white from European, um, just slightly, because this is like a talk for a whole. Actually, is it? I could just say it. I see. This isn't a new idea, but whiteness is erasure. I'm not saying that like being white is erasure, sure, but I'm saying like the concept of whiteness is erasure. Um, you know, what is people love to say that void is black, but like what is whiteness but the absence of everything? Like if you're thinking light wise, every all the colors combined equals white, so the absence of everything would be void. But when you do physical colors, the everything mixed together, it's still not black, but like is still a very dark shade um of brown. But white is really like the only thing that doesn't really exist. You can't mix things to get white, you know. Anyway, anyway, that is completely off topic. But white people's magic, and we're not getting into. I'm talking. This is strictly just like musical magic. Their magic through music, and not the erasure magic. But their magic is through atmosphere. They're really good at creating atmosphere, and not gonna lie, they are great storytellers, fantastic storytellers. Um, and I was thinking about this when I was writing it down, and it actually came to me. Wow, this is so funny. Almost every single one that I was talking about song by that race came on because I have a lot of cultures on my like song list. Literally listening to white people right now. That's so funny. um, but yeah, they're really good at like creating atmosphere and stories, and this really came to me so fast. Actually, when I was writing it down, I was just like, "Oh, so what is atmosphere?" And the first person that I thought of specifically, because I think actually not the first person, but like the first thing I thought of music wise was just literally like EDM songs, was it? Because I was scrolling through TikTok and like there was some sort of techno song that was coming on, and I was just like, this is what like this is one of the things that white people are really good at. Um, but one of the first people that came to mind was specifically Brennan Lee Mulligan, and just the way that man can create stories from anything is fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. And I'm like, even just across the other I'm not even not even just like specifically DMs and stuff like that, but across the D&D things I have watched, and the DMs have almost always been white. And I'm not saying that nobody that other people can't do like create fantasy stories. That's not what this is. But um even listening to the song that came on, which is Art School by Remo Drive, I almost got it completely right. Art School by Remo Drive, it's just like you're listening to it and somehow you could imagine, maybe it's just a me thing, but like somehow I can imagine exactly like a story that coincides with the song. And then there are also like other things that I've seen on not YouTube, TikTok, where have been like recently. This one got stuck in my head. It was, I think there were a couple. I don't know. Didn't look into it, but I'm pretty sure if you searched like "My Moon and My Man" on TikTok, that song just, it transports you somewhere. I don't know where, but it does transport you somewhere. It's just they're so good at creating atmosphere and creating worlds. Great at creating worlds. Um and I have, sorry, um sorry. Let me say the song. Uh WIGTS. It's there are many different versions of this song, but it's I go to sleep, sleep, and imagine that you're there with me. That song. Um, I used to have this song on my disassociating playlist because it made me feel seen. Yeah. Oh, it's hitting me with so many. I think this person's French. That makes sense. I mean, like the song's in French. This next one, I mean, which also also got me. Honestly, this was one of the songs that got me on this path. Uh, Chintamani. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing that right. By Celine Desberg. Like, that is to say, I only really like started delving into whole talk, diving into this whole talk of like what is each culture, right? Um, sorry, I am so sorry. I don't like having them together. There was a whole other necklace. Um, because they're two different silvers. One of them I don't even know whether it's silver, but like they're two different shades, and I don't like it. Um, but anyway, um, I got into this whole talk because like there are so many things where it's just like, you know, all these other races have their own culture, have their own like way of connecting to ancestors. I saw, again, a lot of my information I get through TikTok and stuff like that. The two things I watch are TikTok and YouTube. I've just now gotten kind of back into Instagram. I used to be an Instagram girly, but like I kind of use Threads. But yeah, oh yeah, and I also use Telenym, but like that's neither here nor there. Uh, but um, I think it was on TikTok where I saw that like white people just didn't know, like when people say, oh, we connect to our ancestors and stuff like that, and we have like all these like different rituals and cultures that we could go back to, and with like spirituality and stuff like that. And there were some white people who were just like confused and just like, what do I go back to, right? And that's why I started like going back and searching through it, which kind of goes back into why I say like whiteness is erasure, because like yes, sure, America is a melting pot of cultures, but basically the rule of America in general, sure, land of the free, was to assimilate into white culture. But even the white people that are here came came from a different culture. So came from a different culture, came from European culture. And it's like becoming white instead of being European is like wiping the slate clean of their previous culture. Um, and again, trying to become this thing called white. You erase all the things prior. And like I kind of understand a little bit where um people question like or say that America doesn't have a culture because it is multicultural, but at the same time wants us all to be the same thing. So, the same thing, which is white, you know, um, which is erasure, because you would have to erase your own culture in order to achieve that. Um, yeah, I understand why people are so confused of like where they go back to, because like, hmm, but yeah. Uh, when I think about that some more, because that's also going to be a thing that comes up a lot, or like will come back. Um, that's just how conversations are, especially with me. But yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about for tonight. It was nice talking to y'all today. And really, I only started recording this video because I was doing that thing that I was saying I was doing for TikTok, and it got dark out. I started hella late, felt inspired, you know. So here we are, a nighttime little talk, you know. And I feel tired because, yeah, I'm gonna perk up, end this video out by saying thank you for joining me for a little nighttime chop. Whoa. Nighttime talk. I was going to say, I was thinking nightcap for some reason. I don't know where chop came from. But anyway, thank you for joining me. Leave a like on this video if you liked this video. If you didn't, leave a comment and tell me where I can improve. And I'll keep it in mind. Only if it's a constructive criticism. If it's just criticism to criticize, then you get a hug from someone. And anyway, thank you for reaching the end of this video, and I love you all.